Well, Meghan Markle is reminiscing about her wedding dress with designer Claire White Keller, calling her pieces movement and modern grace. Well, today we're talking about that dress. We're walking down Meghan's fashion evolution through the perspective of the principles of classical femininity. And we're talking about Queen Camilla in that light. We're diving into Meghan's modern fashion and comparing it to the styles that we've seen from Queen Camilla this week on her tour in Australia. And we're talking about Meghan and Harry's new home in Portugal. I want to know what you guys think all about that. Let me know in the comments below. We also had a Prince William sighting as well as his elusive cousins who are just amazingly dressed at this event. It's absolutely to die for. Welcome back to the Swish Live every Tuesday, where we cover the week in review of your favorite royals, exploring classical femininity in royal trends, traditions, and lifestyles for an elegant and inspired life. So feel free to listen while you work, while you're driving somewhere, or simply just stay for a chat. We'd love to hear where you're from. Make sure to put that in the comments below. Well, Meghan Markle has popped up again in the New York Times. We've seen this a few times. It seems to be a go-to outlet for her, and she spoke about her wedding dress this time. She was speaking about Givenchy and Claire White Keller. She had an email, apparently, that she sent to the New York Times. It's interesting to see how they're emailing outlets now. Harry just recently did this with People magazine when discussing his birthday. But she emailed the New York Times talking about how she has a long-standing relationship with Claire. You'll remember that she received an award that Meghan herself actually gave to her as an outstanding British designer back in 2018, I believe, 2019. 2018 and 2019. Now, Meghan says that she wanted a female designer. That was very, very important to her, that she wanted a British designer for this dress, and that she wanted to embrace her new home in this way and have the dress feel reflective of the world in a way. So I'd love to know what you guys think about a dress being reflective of the world. I don't really know what that means, but I also find it really funny when women are so staunchly they are really, really wanting to always have female designers, female-owned businesses. It almost, to me, sounds a little funny because it like puts women in their own category. And we want for women to be able to have the exact same opportunities. So maybe women should be valued for the quality of their work in comparison to everything else. But we've seen this with Meghan quite a lot, where she doesn't necessarily see women as rising to the meritocracy. So anyways, side note on that, it would be strange for Meghan to pick anything other than a British designer for her wedding dress. So I'm not sure why she needed to point that out in this email, but I do wonder what you guys think about this dress. Her veil had all of the Commonwealth countries sewn into it. And I think that's a great homage to the family that she was marrying into. And maybe that's what she meant by the dress representing the world. I'm not really sure. Let me know what you guys think. I was actually surprised when I first saw this dress. It did not seem something that was similar to the other designs that she had been wearing beforehand. It seemed rather plain to me in comparison to other royal dresses. If she wanted to be like Princess Catherine, you know, with that beautiful lace, the Grace Kelly ensemble, this actually looks very similar to another bride's dress, who was the first African-American woman who married into a royal family in the modern age. I'll have to dig up a picture of that, but it looks very similar to this, which was surprising to me. Yeah, make sure to leave a comment. Let me know where you're from. Hello, Elizabeth. I could see that she was probably maybe trying to lean into the modern protocols of royal life, where she, you know, wanted to be modest and wear something that would not rock the boat. I don't know how long she would have kept up that mindset, just judging from some other things that she wore later on, but that can be maybe the only solution. This doesn't seem to fit her as well as I would have guessed. Her body shape does not seem conducive to a style like this, but I'd love to know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. Now, it's also been revealed this week that, as you guys know from the title of this video, the Sussexes have purchased a new home in Portugal. The estimated amount of this property looks to be about $4 million, and there's differing opinions about how much they actually paid, but we do know that this was likely bought in the same complex as Princess Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank. So for anyone that's been following the royal family for any time over the last few years, you'll probably know that Eugenie, who's the daughter of Prince Andrew, the famed Prince Andrew, is really the only person who's still close to Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Now, in his book, Spare, Harry actually said that Meghan and Eugenie are like sisters. I find that very interesting. I know that Eugenie has visited Harry and Meghan in LA a few times, so they seem to be quite close. She and her husband, Eugenie and her husband, seem to be the only people that have really connected with Harry after he's left the royal family, the only ones that have 2 feet in both the royal family and connection to Harry and Meghan. So it's interesting that they would make this move and want to go to Portugal. It also is interesting because Eugenie just this last week went on record saying that she wanted to move back to the UK and have her children, she's got 2 sons, be English educated and not in Portugal. So I know they already split their time, but it seems that they'll be moving back. So it's interesting to me to consider this timing of why they would be moving there. And it's likely, in my opinion, that Harry is desperate for his European roots. And, you know, Portugal's not the UK, but it is Europe. It's something very different than California. We know that Harry's really struggled there. And so living in a particular town like this in Portugal near some of his family might be something that is a little bit more close to home for him. And it's rife with A-listers. This small town used to be a fishing village that suddenly the elites discovered. They all hopped in and wanted to move over here, including George Clooney and Amal Clooney. So that seems to satisfy Meghan's needs of wanting to be near A-list elite people. So this town is not really happy with the fact that Meghan and Harry are moving there. Some reports just came out this morning that locals are concerned about the way that this is going to present their small town in the world stage. So unfortunately, that's what happens when you have all eyes on you with people like Harry moving towards you. The same thing happened to Montecito, but we will see. Many critics are speculating that this is probably a way that Harry wants to get back into the good graces of his family. But frankly, I don't think that that's really something that could be considered at this point. I don't think that Meghan really wants to be able to be in connection with the UK. It's highly doubtful that she would ever move away from LA. She's got her mom there, her managers there. She's got all of her businesses, whatever is left of them at this point. We don't have a lot of insights, again, on what's going on with American Riviera Orchard, but she is firmly rooted in LA. That's where she's from. Her entire network is there. So it's highly unlikely that she would move back to the UK again, especially with the way that she's presented. Unfortunately, the people in the UK, calling them racist, calling them unwelcoming, we don't like her. So that she knows that, and she does not want that kind of bad press. So I really do not believe that this is a big master plan for them to want to move back, but I could see it being a middle ground for them as Harry wants to be in connection with his family. However, as we've continued to see this professional divorce over the last few months with Harry and Meghan both doing their own thing, they haven't been together at all since the most recent tour. And that could easily change, but they're trying to identify themselves on the professional stage by themselves. So I could see if they have another home overseas, that could provide more fuel for this fire of frustration between the two of them. It's not great in a marriage to have differing things like that. So we shall see what happens with that. I think it's probably a real opportunity for them to tie into some family roots if Eugenie and Jack Brooksbank ends up remaining there. But right now, Harry has absolutely no one and absolutely nothing. So we will see what happens. Let me know what you think about this Portugal move. If you think that this is a strategic thing or if it's just a vacation home in the comments below. Now, before we get on to Meghan's style, I want to talk a bit about this. I don't know if you guys know this, but on my website, I've got all the royal classical femininity styles listed. I have been meticulous about finding things that are royally reflective, but classically feminine with a touch of modernity that exhibit elegance. So we've got our October drop. It's been up for just a few weeks. Just wanted to remind you, those are going to be up for only a few weeks more because November is coming. So make sure you take a look there. I've got some Diana-inspired pieces as well. You can click the link in the description And then, hello, good to see you. Make sure you let me know where you're from in the comments below. Yes, so click the link in the description, go to swishmagazine.com and click the shop, and you can find all kinds of amazing classical feminine pieces. Now, we know that Meghan is really into fashion trends. And this is actually the exact opposite of what elegance means. Elegance has nothing to do with trends. It's actually the exact opposite. It's in stark contrast to that. So this is interesting to see Meghan continually wear these baggy clothes. From the time that she entered the world stage since she was dating Harry, she's always kind of been on a trend. It's a funny way to say that, but it's true. From her slick back buns to her baggy clothes, she is a part of that LA celebrity life. And this is what's reinforcing the difference between royals and celebrities. Celebrities reflect trends. Royals set them, and they are above them. So it's interesting to see this contrast of what Meghan's wearing here with these baggy outfits. This was from July in the Hamptons, where she was, I think, trying to find someone to be a CEO for Archwell, and she was donning this piece. We've seen her in a lot of baggy clothes lately. There was a recent article in the Daily Mail about some experts who are analyzing her clothing materials, how she wears linen and cotton, and how those are so conducive to wrinkles. And these are the kinds of things that as a royal you are thinking about. You don't wear those kinds of textures. So she no longer has this this network of people around her that are helping her look at what she's wearing, what she's doing, and the status that it presents. Because although she probably thinks that this looks very formal and wealthy, it doesn't fit her well. And more than anything, the way that something fits is very, very important. I think about Jennifer Aniston and how she actually buys her t-shirts and then has them tailored so that they can have her t-shirts look well. So this is something that Meghan could learn. Now, we're seeing a stark contrast to this week with Queen Camilla. Now, of course, they're on their Australia tour, and Camilla is from a different generation, but we still can draw some interesting lines in the principles that we're seeing here with Camilla's style. She's always been so quirky, and I think that's what makes Camilla so interesting. Back in February, there was actually an article released about how Gen Z sees Camilla as an icon. And I was kind of taken aback by that. I have a whole video sitting in my drafts. I'll have to publish it at some point about Camilla's style transformation, because she really has gone from an everyday person to the Camilla who has this grace and dignity and this beautiful style that's really evolved in the last year or two, while reflecting her generation, but also wearing quirky things. Like if you've seen her purse collection, she has a baked bean bag, or she recently wore 2 different earrings, which is a Gen Z thing. So I think it's hilarious and wonderful, and I'll dive into that more. But we've been seeing some of that here on the Australian tour. Now, as you know, King Charles and Queen Camilla had their tour as head of state in Australia. It's their first one they've done since he ascended to the throne. It actually just ended. But King Charles has been under a lot of scrutiny and pressure to get this tour right. Of course, Australia is really in a fight about whether or not they want to remain a part of the Commonwealth. And he was even approached by a heckler this week. There was a lot of pushback, but it seems to have really ended on a strong note. And if you'll remember, this is something that his doctors allowed for him to go to, even though he's in the midst of his treatment still. They decided to put that on pause. They feel like he has been doing well enough for him to go on this and take a pause. But I'd love to know your thoughts on this. I was looking back through photos. I've got some here of Charles in June and Charles now. And I think, and I mean this in the most wonderful way, I can tell this has been hard for him. Just looking at his face, looking at, he seems to have aged, but of course, because he's been going through these challenges. So I do think, he's not out of the woods yet. It was interesting to see. Here's another photo of him. He just looks like this has been hard for him. And so I'd love to know your thoughts on this just from June. I'll pull that picture back up again. the difference from June to now. This was only a matter of months ago. So Camilla, of course, was right there by his side for the entirety of this tour. I think they did a fantastic job together. She wore several repeat styles throughout this tour. Of course, she's known for repeating styles, which is the mark of an elegant woman with the elegance principle of sustainability. And she likes to rewear things to big occasions too. We just saw this with the coronation dress that she rewore to the opening of Parliament this year. But this trip, she had several looks that she rewore from Wimbledon. I believe this dress she rewore from Wimbledon a few years ago, about 2 or 3 years ago. And, you know, re-wearing things is something that many royals do. Meghan and Catherine have done this many times, and they've usually done this on tour specifically as a form of diplomacy. And they do this by wearing local designers, highlighting people from the country that they're visiting. Camilla actually chose not to do that with this tour, which I found really interesting. She really stuck to those British designers that she loves, these tried and true looks. And she's really let her jewelry do the talking. You can see she's got some beautiful brooches from Queen Elizabeth. She's got a hat that has some jewelry in it. She loves Van Cleef & Arpels, which is actually a Gen Z line. And part of the reason why Gen Z loves her, because of the jewelry that she wears, it's very modern, very much Gen Z. And she was just so well dressed on this tour, wearing all those things. So thousands of people lined up to see them. It was a really great way to round out the end of this tour on a good note. There was so much speculation and questioning about how this would go with some of the turmoil in Australia, but overall it seems to have been a real success for them. At one point, we even saw Queen Camilla and King Charles sharing those glasses that King Charles is wearing right there. So it's sweet to see them together. They have a great relationship from what we can tell. And I am really happy to see that this seems to have gone on generally without a hitch. Now, we also saw a gorgeous example of classical femininity with Lady Kitty and Amelia Spencer last weekend at the Centrepoint Awards in London. So they came to this event to support their cousin, Prince William. So as I'm sure you know, Lady Kitty is Princess Diana's niece, who her brother Charles, Charles Spencer's daughter. And she had some wonderful words of thankfulness and encouragement for her cousin, Prince William. She talked about how much he inspires her, the great work that he's done with homelessness. This event was all about that, which is something, as you all know, is very near and dear to William's heart. And one thing I love about these styles is that they're just so extraordinary without being provocative. It almost takes your breath away how beautiful something can be without, you know, using your just your skin or your body as a way to get attention. And I think these are beautiful designs. I was looking at all these styles, and then I came across Zendaya, you know, who lives in London now. And it was almost shocking just to see the types of things we usually see on the red carpet now versus, you know, Lady Kitty and Amelia and the Spencer cousins. They're just, you know, dressed beautifully. And I love this Renaissance style. If you look closely, I can make this a little bigger here. She's got a painting on her dress. It's got a scene of a young boy preparing to take a gondola out on a picturesque river. And then you can see the skyline in the distance. It's just a beautiful piece. Clearly, it was something that she took a lot of thought in. She really seems to embrace classical femininity. She got married just a few years ago, and her wedding was absolutely gorgeous. And classical femininity is something that we talk about quite a lot on this channel, and it really is the difference between this and that. It's not just about, you know, modesty or anything like that, but it's about the strategic ways that you can dress that is effective. And that's something that we see that's totally different from Meghan. Let me see if I can pull that photo back up here again, of the baggy outfit. Where did it go? This one. Like, it's a total contrast here. And obviously she's not on the red carpet here, but you know, there's just little things that you can do to help bring out that elegance and actually have it be a powerful tool for women. And I think that's something that's been really lost today. And honestly, that's why I started this channel, because I believe that classical femininity is something that has been lost. And you really see that juxtaposition in Meghan and Catherine. And so Classical femininity, I'll pull up the definition here for you guys. It's preservation and reflection of truth, goodness, and beauty in womanhood that's rooted in timeless virtues and traditions. In contrast to contemporary feminism, it emphasizes autonomy and subjectivity rather than communal reliance and lasting elegance. And so we see that in the way that people dress, in the way that they carry themselves. We see that a lot with Meghan and how she engages with her family members or lack thereof, the way that she dresses herself. We most recently saw that red dress on the red carpet with the deep cut on her. The cut of the dress was very deep. It wasn't necessarily helpful to her body shape, body type. There's all those things that we learned about through elegance, but it's not just clothing, it's also in the way that we carry ourselves. So that's part of the reason that I started this channel and the things that I talk about here, and why we talk about Meghan and Catherine so much, because I think that classical femininity is a lost art, and I'm really happy to see Lady Kitty out there supporting her cousin, having such complimentary words for Prince William, and then just dressing magnificently. We need more styles like this. We need young women to be able to look up to things like this, like Princess Catherine, and so much more in a world full of modern feminism that just degrades women in so many ways. So I'd love to know what you think about all of these topics today. Meghan Markle's dress, let me know what you thought, if that was something that you were excited about, that beautiful what she believes is a beautiful design. I think it is. If you thought that it was something that was good looking on Meghan for her wedding dress, if you thought that the Kitty or that the Spencer sisters looked beautiful, I think they did. And I'd also love to know your thoughts on the Australian tour. Why do you think that Harry and Meghan have bought property in Portugal? Let me know if you agree with me in the comments below too. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've really enjoyed doing these Tuesday live streams, and I'll see you next time. Bye.